guest this week is Kid Congo Powers. Kitt is a renowned American musician, celebrated for his distinctive guitar work and vibrant stage presence. Rising from the Los Angeles punk scene, he became a key figure in influential bands like the Gun Club, the Cramps, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, where he helped merge punk and genres like blues and psychedelic rock. His own band, Kid Congo and the Monkey Birds, further showcases his eclectic taste, blending garage rock with punk and groove influences. Powers is also an author. His memoir, Some New Kind of Kick, offers a candid reflection of his life as a queer Chicano artist. Through both his music and writing, Kid Congo Powers continues to inspire with his creativity, cementing his legacy as a one-of-a-kind, multifaceted artist. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome the Revolutions Per Movie, Kid Congo Powers. Hi, Kid.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing so great.
Good to be here.
You know, I saw Juanita and Juan play in Portland not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of storytelling throughout the night.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I love about you, and it's also in your book, is that as a kid, you're doing a lot of the things a lot of us who are music obsessed did, you know, sleep outside for tickets, Cream magazine, Circus magazine, hitchhiking to go downtown so you can hang out with, you know, like the people at Licorice Pizza, going to roller derby shows. But not many people also take the step of seeing their new favorite band and deciding to have a fan club. And I love anyone that did the fan club route, where you saw the Ramones for the first time in LA and you're just like, I know what I need to do. I love that about you.
Yeah, there was a whole group of people ready for it. That was the thing. I took the step because there was like, you mentioned some friends of ours, Mel Compton, Lisa Fancher, different people. There was Marcy Blousing, who took the cover of my book, cover picture. We were all a group of people, of crazy music fans who met from sleeping out for tickets to see Patti Smith or whatever. Then, when the Ramones came, I saw that there was the same group of freaks were, going to every suburb, every show, because the Ramones really played every nook and cranny. Like, it was not like they just hit the big places. They went to all the really small clubs in suburbs and different burgs of Southern and Northern California. And so there was the same group of people following it all around, which was, I kind of described as a scene from a crowd scene in Mad Magazine. Crazy hippies with steam coming out of their ears, and someone with their tongue hanging out, nailing it, their tongue to board or something. It's that kind of all these people, and and actually, so some of us became like because it was pen pals, because that's what you did, and making phone calls, and tying up our parents' landlines, and just to find out what was going on, and
Sure.
and so it just seemed like it would be easier because I belonged to a Patti Smith fan club, which her mother ran. So you get letters from Patti Smith's mother, and
incredible.
And then Sparks. I belong to the Sparks fan club, and I just thought, okay, it's a newsletter with news. It's maybe a graphed piece of Xerox piece of paper, photocopy paper, and they give you a badge, and then you're in, and you're in with the in crowd, and so so I thought, well, we could do this with the Ramones because it was obviously they should be the biggest band in the world, because they were being kind of really marketed like a Tiger Beat magazine. Danny Fields was their manager,
sure.
And and it was good, and actually I just I'm living in Tucson, Arizona now the last like 5 or 7 years, but I just ran into the woman, Sue Sawyer, who was the publicist for the Ramones, West Coast, when that Sire, I think, was maybe with ABC before they moved to wherever they moved to. And we just I just heard someone go, my real name is Brian. I heard someone go like, Brian. And I was like, what? And I looked at him like, I know this face. It's been 40, 50 years. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. And she's like, oh, it's Sue. And I'm like, I immediately was, oh, Sue Sawyer, you know. So that was a really full circle moment,
Yeah. Well, it was great seeing you live because on the album Jungle Cruise that you did with Alice Beck, you have the song The Prez.
Yeah.
Where after you see them, you say, I didn't ask for permission. That wasn't the punk way. I made it unofficial, so I didn't have no taxes to pay. But I worked hard and I earned my cred. And the next time I saw Joey said, here comes the Prez. Does he mean me? I'll just follow his lead. Yeah, that's me. Just sign up over there with my secretary. It's so charming.
Aww.
Like that album and that tour was really magnificent.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it was just a fun project to do. And, I've known Alice since those days and in the LA punk scene. And I knew her from her band, The Bags, and which were a frightening prospect, I will tell you, live back then. And everyone's like, oh, she's intense now. And she's so like, there. I'm like, you should have seen her when she was 18.
Yes, I know.
That was like unbridled completely. But anyway, so the idea with Juanita and Juan really was to, there was a couple of things. We had done a TV show theme or a song in a TV show called The Resort, which was on the Peacock channel. And someone wrote to Larry Hardy at In the Red and said, will either Kid Congo or Alice Bad want to make us a lounge act song for a beach?
Wow.
But it needs to be in Spanish and, and blah, blah, blah. So, he kind of sent us an email together and we were both being very polite, going like, oh, Alice, she's Spanish first language. She should do it, Yeah. And so it's like, no, but really they want Kid to do it. And then Alice was smart. She's like, well, why don't they see if they want it to be a duet? And they went for that. So we made a song. We had these characters we played, at the beach resort in Mexico, which was filmed in Puerto Rico, and Hollywood magic, So after we did that, we thought, well, this was kind of a fun form because it was something we don't normally do. It was funny, and it was like we thought like let's do something together, and I was trying to think of all these different kind of forms that kind of weren't going to be like what we normally do because we already have our own bands and do our ultimate us. So we thought, well, why don't we adopt these characters and make that bring a fiction into fact?
That's great.
And so that was it. And then also we thought, well, maybe this could be something we could do when we do, because we both have memoirs out. And I also, actually convinced my Spanish language, Lia Libros to put her book out as well. Because when I told her, oh, I have this Spanish language book coming out, and she's like, oh, I wish my book was in Spanish language. I was like, what? Like that is some kind of crime that your book is not in Spanish because you have you are the Chicana. Yeah, you're her, the Chicana punk. You're her. So anyway, so that happened. So we thought, well, let's write some songs that are from our book, and maybe we could do that, but it turned into a bigger thing than our reading to lounge music, which was the original.
Do you have a name for your drum machine?
No, it's our Japanese band.
Okay. The other thing that I think is really, I love your book so much. I've read it so many times, but I love just the era where bands like the Screamers would have posters and a vibe about them before they even played their first show. I lied to get into my first band. I said I knew how to play. I didn't. I wanted to be in a band so bad that when they said, do you know Religion by PIL? I was like, sure. but I didn't really know it, and I just faked my way into it, and then here I am. And
Yes.
I feel like the stories of you being in New York and Lydia Lunch being like, just pick up the guitar, and you're like, I don't know how to play. She's like, do you think I do? And she's on the drums. And then Jeffrey being like, we're starting a band. How? Like, why? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Do you want to be the singer? No. Okay, I'll be the singer. I feel like that is such a beautiful rite of passage for kids starting out.
Yeah,
it's just just faking your way through it.
Yeah, it was faking it, and it was also that like, you had to believe kind of in yourself, but also
sure,
there was a band that said we're going to try some people out, or Jeffrey Lee Pierce saying like, oh yeah, you're going to be in a band, and I thought, well, if he thinks so, well, maybe I should try it. Also, I remember, did you read Barry Adamson, from Magazine? And
yes.
Did you read his book? Yeah.
It's
but
great.
His same thing he did, He's like, oh, yeah, I'm a bass player. And he had to run out and buy a bass to go to the audition and kind of go boom, boom, boom.
Now I'd be competing with School of Rock kids who are learning Butthole Surfer songs from their teacher. Exactly. I'd be like, oh, no, I don't know anything. Oh, it's so funny. I also love that you and Jeffrey from the Gun Club, you guys would sit around and talk about actors like James Dean or Marlon Brando or Montgomery Clift. And I was really not surprised, but shocked to find that like Jeffrey had taken acting classes at Lee Strasberg. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did Jeffrey have aspirations to kind of be a theatrical performer?
He was a theatrical performer.
Well, yeah, obviously. I know, but
but actor, yeah. I mean, you're young, you're trying things out that interest you. And, that was, the Actors Studio or Lee Strasberg, was a very, that was Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, Marlon Brando, Shelley Winters.
Right.
And, up to the 70s, up to now. But yeah, I think, he had a flair for theatrics, literature. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone we knew was reading books. Everyone was watching films. Everyone had interests in this and that. And around that age of, coming of age, we were, probably all, 17 to 19, or 20 years old. And you don't kind of know what you're going to do.
Yeah, it's
really
true.
At that point, and so like trying all these different things, acting could be one, but music obviously, took hold with us. So, it was like, Tomato de Plenty of the Screamers. I remember him going like, oh, these punk rock kids, they all have library cards. And I was like, that's true. We were passing around books. There was no internet to look stuff up, or nothing was at your grasp.
So no, you couldn't watch a tutorial on how to play, Prodigal Son by the Stones. It's just like, forget it. But like, you have like a month of guitar playing under your belt when Jeffrey's like, we're playing at the Hong Kong Cafe. Let's go.
Which he lied to get that.
Really?
He took. Now there's a story. I don't know if I tell it in the book, but he Dave Alvin from the Blasters. They were friendly because we were like the Blasters a lot. We were friendly, and he told Dave like, oh, I see you're playing with the Hong Kong Cafe. Already promised us that night. My new band. Oh and Dave was like, no, we're playing. And he's like, no, we're playing. And they had this little standoff about it. And so, of course, Jeffrey was lying. And so Dave was like, okay, just come play with us.
Oh, it's so brilliant. I didn't know till reading your book that Jeffrey was just like, you have to join the Cramps. They've asked you to join that. Yeah. Like he was like, duh, do it.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that was just, and it's quite beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very, very good. I mean, I'm glad he didn't talk me out of
Yeah,
it.
but that's at an
Yeah,
age where it's like you can feel so betrayed so quickly.
yeah, but the Cramps were huge rock stars. Yes, they were
Right.
the ultimate. Really, it was like, yeah, I couldn't even believe that was possible, but that could possibly possible, especially at that juncture of playing guitar for 1 year, and then open E tuning, it's just like, like it was all I could do to play sex beat, that was
Right,
like
right.
it took every moment of my concentration to get through that. Um, but yeah, he was cool, but also he, he had an agenda. And like I was like, "What? You're not going to stop the band because I'm not in it?" He's like, "You go in the band, but get me gigs with you," which of course we did.
The Cramps did ask you, like, what would you do? What would you give to be in the Cramps of yourself?
Mm.
And like, and you're like, I don't know, quit my job. And they're like, no, no, we're talking about what would you give?
Yeah, exactly.
The Smell of Female Alive album really allows me to hear like the distinction between you and Ivy, because as a kid, when I had Psychedelic Jungle, I didn't know where it began and end.
Sure.
And I just think it's an incredible document. And the band is so tight and ripping. It just like, was there a learning curve there, or were you just like, at what point did you feel confident in the Cramps?
Never.
Okay, that was my second question.
You think they're gonna let their band members be confident? Those two.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
But,
Right.
but, no, actually, they were looking for confidence. I was confident, so I was very tenacious, and I was kind of faking it to make it there too. But it was like they were good teachers. I mean, they knew what they were doing. When they asked me, they thought it's like, oh, this is a porous piece of clay. We can just mold into whatever we want it to be. And so I was willing for one, and and yeah, I just had to really learn. I had to learn those three chords, you know, which was daunting in the least. But also there was a whole thing with the Cramps. You kind of step into a world. It's not like you are just in a band that's trying to figure stuff out. Now the Gun Club was. It was kind of like, oh, this is a ready-made world in every sense of the matter. And also, I was just there to do what they wanted me to do. It wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I got to. Like, you can tell in Psychedelic Jungle, I was like, oh, they were. I was like able to just make some interpretive choices. Like, oh, caveman. Like, how do you make a guitar sound like a caveman? Like, And my whole thing was like, how can I make it sound slow and backwards?
Yeah, it's incredible. The sounds on that record, and
yeah.
and I think you say that you were the concept was to stay up as long as you could, like to find an exhaustion in the studio, like
Yes.
a natural hallucination from just exhaustion. Which I listen to the album now, I'm like, I can totally picture it.
Yeah, the ghosts arrived.
Was your time with the Cramps the first time you got to go overseas to play?
It was the first time I played to more than 10 people.
Okay.
Really, the Gun Club at that point had no records, or we were, the Gun Club were a band that bands liked more than that people liked.
Right.
Really, there were, of course, people who liked us, but it wasn't huge at all. It was the band's girlfriends and a couple of friends, and and a couple and people from other bands. Back when the Blasters always came or whatever. So it was kind of like they saw something was going on, they're kind of like, I know it's going to happen soon. They're going to do something, you know.
Yeah, it's so weird in the Gun Club documentary, just the amount of people who come, go and come back into the Gun Club. And there's a story of like Terry, like in Europe, like climbing out of a hotel window to escape the band, just leave the country. And
Yeah.
I think you're invited, like Jeffrey calls you, like, I need your help in Australia.
Yeah.
We don't have 2 players in it. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, see you soon. It's amazing how the pull of that band to people, because it was extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the work was amazing. You know, and Jeffrey was an amazing writer and performer, and you know, and I had kind of had a very different relationship with him, I think, than a lot of the band members did, because we were friends before we were, you know, when we started the thing together, you know, and and just there was like many factors, you know. I saw, you know, kind of later, you know, that we were both, you know, brotherless people. You know, we both grew up with sisters but no brothers, and being Chicano, you know, but not really one step. Like, are we the Mexican side? Are we the white? Are we the American side? Are we the what side are we? You know, it's kind of, you know, so, you know, in general, freakdom, and we bonded on, you know, the whole reason that he asked me at all is because we liked the same books and films and different, you know, musics, you know. And we were at a Para Ubu concert, you know. You would think would be at a Cramps concert or something, you know. And so that was like, you know, we like this. We want to go way out, you know.
No, even that first mixtape that Jeffrey's handing around, I wrote down, it was like Marty Robbins, Marvin Rainwater, Howlin' Wolf, Dylan, and the Stones. And you're kind of like, yeah, it's all there, you know, just throw in like, you know, maybe a Pharoah Sanders and George Gershwin composition mashup, and you're home. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like at such a young age to have such a vision that you all did. I wanted to ask you a question about the Las Vegas story, because I was taping the radio show in Portland called Autonomy Hour that played, you know, all the underground music, and they're playing, you know, the intro to the album, and Jeffrey's like, this is the Las Vegas story, a story of a couple of great, and then it goes in, it cuts off, and I thought that the DJ had hit the thing and it skipped or whatever, and then when I got the record, I'm like, oh, this is a conscious choice. Do you remember? Because I think it's one of the most incredible, affecting intros to an album. For some reason, that really spoke to me theatrically, that it just left you hanging. Like, wait, like they have this moody thing, and now we're into this thing. Do you remember the conscious choice of that, or where that came about?
That whole record was, you know, we were very involved with William Burroughs and you know, Brian Dyson and cut up theory and this and that, you know, drugs, and the so, you know, that was kind of, you know, he's obviously affecting quite a Burroughsy type of drawl there, and no, I think it was just it was great. That was the first time. Well, actually, it was the first time I recorded with the Gun Club,
right?
Because I had not recorded before with them, and but then we had a producer who was really great, Jeff Irick, and he was great because he kept just taping off stuff, you know, like we'd be fucking around and he'd just make sure he taped everything.
Wow.
You know, and so that was kind of probably just an off thing, Jeffrey, you know, saying something into the microphone, you know.
It's so great.
You know, so it was, you know, it was a matter of that, and yeah, it's a great having a narrator start your record. You know, so it makes it kind of conceptually sound.
Oh my God, it's such an adventurous, mature record for where the band was in terms of just the covers on it and the different stylistic choices. It's like there's not a bunch of, there's, like Yellow Eyes, there's not 12 of them. You know what I mean? There's not 12 Walking with the Beast. It's like really just such an incredible record. It's one of my favorites. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too.
You're also such an incredible collaborator with all the various people you've played with. I mean, you have that new record.
With Naima
Two songs, Safari, right. How do you chicken egg something with another person?
Well, it's very different all the time. And mostly it's people asking me because I'm far too lazy to initiate anything.
You don't seem lazy at all in terms of your discography.
I know, it's crazy, yeah.
And you wrote a book.
I'm always like, I'm really not doing anything. I just sent another demo off to before this off to Alice, actually.
Right.
Yeah, well, with Naima Moore, that was very much him asking me. It was actually at the very strictest time of the lockdown, with the first COVID lockdown, when you really were not seeing anyone. And I had met right before the lockdown. I had done a solo show, just playing electric guitar solo, and he came and we met, and I, dug him, and then he gave me some of his music, and I saw him play live, and I was like, this guy's great, really, very, very, very amazingly talented, and so during lockdown, he just said, like, I'm going crazy, and I have a studio, and what if I send you some files, and we'll, just do a little, as he's put it, a conversation. We'll have a guitar conversation. And I like that idea. Very French of him, very existential. And so we did that. And that one was good. Like, let's try another one. And then we had an album. And suddenly we were like, we have an album starting with material.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of if I click with someone a lot. Well, with that, to continue, it was just like, let's do a song or two, and then it turned into an album, and then things like different things, like I just put out a record, kind of garage rocky record with a woman, Jacquelina, and with Larry Mullins, who is plays in the Bad Seeds now. He was the drummer for the Stooges, for Iggy. He's worn many hats. He's in Swans. He's
amazing.
We rival each other for the amount of projects we can do.
Someone's got to.
But he's someone, like, I've done one project. We did a record with a French singer named Mel Turbo, and it was just called Mel, actually, MELL. And that record kind of came out, and the record company collapsed. Nothing ever happened, And that's tired old story. But it's a great record, and we had recorded it in France and all over. And so, whenever Larry asks me to do anything, I just say yes. I don't even have to hear it. Like, okay, whatever he asks me to do, I know I can do it. And it's usually something outrageously, like, make a lot of noise on this. I'm like, okay.
How often do you make music when you don't have a project? Do you?
I need the project before I will, like, I'll doodle. I'm a doodler. And also the kind of guitar playing I do is a lot of sound experiment as opposed to anything. I think it's pretty traditional. It's not wildly avant-garde what I do. I think I told the Russian in the post, oh, my music, my sound is it's just a big blob of sound.
Such an understatement.
The things I say are just like, but I'm like, well, that actually sums it up pretty well.
Yes and no. Yeah. I mean, it's like, Those blobs are on some of the greatest
Yeah.
records I have in my life. So they're good. They're good
Good
blobs.
blob. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of blobs, maybe we should switch into talking about Jayne Mansfield. And
Speaking of blobs,
yeah. So
she is a blob.
Yeah, 1955. The Girl Can't Help It, which you picked.
Yeah.
Where did you first come across this film?
I think I didn't. I saw that. I think I was probably in the 70s. Probably, I think it might have been introduced to me by the Screamers, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I was about 18. They were a real fountain of pop culture for me, from everything from, like John Waters films. I mean, it all kind of makes sense, John Waters films or Dario Argento, Giallo films, or just this, of course, Suspiria, more specific,
Sure.
and then they had records like they had like the Suspiria soundtrack, as it came out, like in the like an Italian import of it or whatever, and they had Noi records and Nico records, but then they also had like Pat Suzuki records and like super camp show tunes, and so it was a real education, and then going to the movies was, again, no internet. There was going to the movies was a big source of entertainment. So The Girl Can't Help It, obviously, a cult favorite back then, even in the 70s, played, around pretty often. And so, yeah, I think I saw it then, and that was also the start of rockabilly revival ism, in the around the punk rock, really. And so there was an interest in 50s music, which I realize now was for people now would be like 80s music or 90s music for me in the 70s, but it seems so far away then.
Well, it's like when Nuggets came out in 72 and it's like, remember this music from 6 years ago?
Yes,
it was
exactly.
Wild. You're like, imagine if right now it's like, remember the sounds of 2019?
Yes.
It's like, what? But, I talked to Richard Meltzer and he just was like, rock was such a passing fad. People were ready to write it off. Like the press and the culture was still like, this damn rock thing, when is it going to move out of here?
Yeah.
And for this film to kind of have the budget and the star power that it did, in terms of the actors and the musicians. I mean, at my video store, we had lots of those films that like Johnny Legend was like reissuing, like Rock, Carnival Rock Baby Rocket, which had Johnny Carroll, who Texas, is that right?
Yeah,
Johnny
Texas.
Yeah, and Kay Wheeler, the queen of rock and roll, doing the rock and bop. She does this amazing, like, simple, slutty, thrusting thing. But these films are like black and white, flat looking, like cheapo, exploitation things. And this film
was a full-on in deluxe color, not even Technicolor. The color is the most incredible color you've ever seen in your life. Not before or after. Yeah.
No, the most. That scene when he's visiting nightclubs, there's that purple curtain behind him. That's just, and you see every single sparkle
in it. Yeah.
And John Waters to this day is like, I'm still chasing that.
Yeah.
That sparkle. He's like, if I could have had that in Desperate Living or Cry Baby, I can't get it. And then he was also like, of course, I got my mustache from the Platters, and Little Richard. He was like, this film, he's like, he's still chasing it, and you can it's beautiful,
and you can see it.
Absolutely,
you can see it from the earliest films to like the later bigger ones like Hairspray and stuff.
Yeah, Divine's walking down the street to the Girl Can't Help It, and people are like looking at her on this long tracking shot, and that's Jayne Mansfield, obviously iconic scene where she's walking and like the ice is melting,
and the milk's burning.
It's like, oh my God. Were you aware of the legacy of Jayne Mansfield being a Los Angeles resident?
Very, very much so. Very. She loomed large in LA punk rock 70s lore, especially her demise and her associations with LA is so very into the occult, and that, it's funny when I moved to New York, anytime I'd mention anything like that, everyone like roll their eyes. Like,
Really?
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, ULA people, but in LA, if being involved with Anton LaVey is very, very exotic and very of interest. But also, yeah, and also, I will tell you that she was married to the bodybuilder actor Mickey Hargitay, and he was in name my landlord at one point. I never met him because he had a manager take care of the building, but I lived in a building with my friend Pleasant Game, and
Wow.
And he our checks went to Mickey Hargitay.
I love it. So that was going to the Pink Palace.
Yes, exactly. And but yeah, so yeah, she was, and just the images of her, and then once seeing her in films, and especially that film, I mean, that is just the most entertaining, incredible film. And also, that is like the thing is that I don't know if you read that book by John Savage, the British writer. It's called Teenage. It's like the making of the teenager, which goes from actually really 19th century to around the time of The Girl Can't Help It, when the teenager market was born around that time. Because before it was like you were young and then you worked and then you died. There was no teenager. You were young and then you were an adult. So that became a point after World War II that young people had disposable income and started asserting themselves as a thing and became a group. A thing. Which of course not of capitalism could get in on.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, this is a rare film too, where teenagers are barely in it, and teenagers are not like having a crisis of like being misunderstood or angry or like a fearful thing. Like in your book, you talk about seeing Lady in a Cage, which is years later, but Hollywood is still like, young kids are the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Like they are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Don't look them in the eyes. Yes. It's amazing that still that story was still going on.
Yeah, exactly. And also The Girl Can't Help It is kind of like a really big music video too, because the amount of people in it, the Treniers, the Platters, Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, Little Richard. Oh my God, that scene with Abby Lincoln, because it kind of starts on her reflection on the stage, and she's lit in this really deep red, and she's wearing a red gown, and then it kind of just going. You see the reflection, you see her body, and it's just this glowing thing, and then suddenly the light goes on her face, and it's just like, wow, this is insanity.
Frank Tashlin directed this, who
yes.
did a lot of stuff later on with, Jerry Lewis, like the really hyper-colored Cinderella, things like that.
Yeah.
But had come from animation, like Looney Tunes and things like that, and Disney. And so it just makes total sense. Like this whole film is sight gags, laying into sound, like having sound overwhelm a scene. Like it's always breaking into and disrupting stuff. The playful way they make fun of Rock, Edmund O'Brien, who plays Fats, who's the criminal element of it.
Yeah, the mobster. Yeah,
he wants Jayne Mansfield to be a star, and so he gets the alcoholic Tom Uwell, which is like such an interesting trope of like, he drinks because of Julie Lungden leaving him in the dust when she becomes a star. And I did not know till recently. I'm so naive. There's this amazing scene where Tom is drinking and is seeing Julie Lungden appear in like
Mhm.
11 different spots.
Yeah, 11 different outfits.
And I didn't know that Julie Lungden was a real artist. Like they're treating it like you blew it with Julie Lungden. And I didn't know that she wasn't a legitimate recording artist
Yeah.
herself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have her records. Yeah. And come to think of it, that would be the Screamers, is where I would have probably first heard of Julie London. Because I remember that album, the Cry Me a River album that they had. Yeah.
It's made for kids, but the world is like eloquent nightclubs that you go see Fats Domino in.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not young, it's not dangerous. It's like
not,
people.
It's not at the sock hop.
No, people are seated at candlelit tables.
Tuxedos.
But the way they film the performances, Little Richard, just him staring off, not into the camera, but into space.
Yeah.
And performing. And even when he's done, I remember as a kid, there used to be these things on TV where they would take clips, like make like a 2-hour history of rock thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before I had access to so much. And they would always put the scene in where you go, you know, wop, bop, a loo, bop, wham, bam, boom, hit the piano, step away quickly from the piano and bow really quickly.
Yeah.
It's always in these things. And I was like, I haven't seen this film, but that 3 seconds.
Undeniable. Yeah. Yeah. Little Richard is it, you know?
Yeah. And everybody does a good job lip syncing in this thing. You know what I mean? That's not easy to have, you know, Gene Vincent and his actual band in the film, the Blue Caps, like emote.
Yeah.
Emote. And like that guitar player, when they all kick off their hats at the same time, and then he's chewing gum and he's closing his eyes and he's just like screaming.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, they're like, all right, let's do it again. All right, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Now we're going to do it again. For non-professionals, everyone in it gives it.
I would hope they would. I would hope anyone would now.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, like I watch some of those older films and there's a disconnect.
No, I understand what you mean. They look a bit wooden. Yeah. They just look completely natural, and you would never imagine they were any other way, you know, that where there's just a daunting situation, having a million lights and cameras and people and, you know, the pressure of performing, you know, but they all made it very natural, you know. I believed all of it.
Are you familiar with the Chuckles or Eddie Fontaine?
Not for this film.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. You don't know Cool It Baby by Eddie Fontaine and Cinnamon Sinner?
Cinnamon Sinner. I remember that song. But,
Marshmallow Mama with a jelly roll heart.
Yes.
And then Eddie Fontaine's Cool It Baby had the lyrics here I wrote down. Love your eyes, love your lips. You taste even better than potato chips.
Yes.
So even a film like this gives a couple square moments, but even in its squareness, it's so endearing because, again, this was an era where like no one knew which way was up. Like, is this going to last? Like, maybe the Chuckles are the future of music.
Exactly. Yeah. Luckily, that wasn't true. But then letting people. I mean, Gene Vincent, you know, had legitimate hits, you know, Bebop, Lula, and stuff. But you know, they always just strike me as so rogue and rough around the edges, and and so I always think of well, they're very sexual, you know.
Absolutely,
you know, and they had a real sexuality and a dirty sexuality about them and those songs, and so it wasn't all, you know, goody two shoes, and just Jayne Mansfield, man. When she's all those scenes of her walking to the bathroom are just hilarious, you know, and tragic. Yeah, you said. I mean, I could see she's a cartoon, you know.
Yeah, I was watching something where the costumer was talking about how they just dragged her up, like she doesn't have that big a bust. Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's just illusion. They're like, we padded her everywhere,
cinched her in with a corset. She was like a drag queen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. And
Yeah.
she's that scene where she goes to change behind like a little
The bush.
nothing. There's like, it's all just sticks. You're like,
Yeah,
good try.
because we watched it again last night. And that's the part we're like, what? Amazing. Yes.
They're like, we still got sensors. We tried. But also, it's so interesting that someone like Tom Uhl, who had been in 7-Year Inch, was like, that's leading man material back then, in terms of like, this really strange
Like
creature of a man, like,
not at all a Tyrone Power or whatever. Yeah. Not a Earl Flynn. Yes.
But it also takes the piss out of rock and roll a bit here and there. They basically decide that like she can't sing, and so they're relieved.
She doesn't want a career. Yeah.
And they're trying to convince Fats that like the deal is off, and he's like, listen to this. Holds up the phone, and it's
Eddie Cochran.
Eddie Cochran on the TV. He's like, this kid can't do it, so therefore you're still gonna do it. He can't sing.
He said that he can't sing, but what he has is a new sound. So you're going to make her a new sound.
Yeah,
which is great. And I will say her vocal performance is pretty incredible. I'd buy that.
The squeal.
Yes.
1 rock, 2 rock, 3 rock, 4 rock, baby. It's just, I love that part. And yeah, so she basically, they find her space in it, which is this amazing,
like a wail of a scream, like a whistle. I don't know how to describe it to people.
You know what? I'll drop it in right here. You'll get the sound. You'll get the squeal. Here it is.
1 rock, 2 rocks, 3 rocks, 4 rocks. Rock pile dust is on my shoes. I'm a guy just born to lose. When I hear the siren blow, I get those blues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever, the place she lived in, the Pink Palace in Los Angeles, which was legendary, she loved to host. She was always like, if it's a slow news day, let's go up and see what Jayne Mansfield has done to her house. Like, wall and the ceiling covered in carpet.
Yeah.
A heart-shaped swimming pool. Did you ever try to make the Mecca to kind of peek at the Pink Palace?
I never was that adventurous. Although I was very adventurous.
Right.
I've been to the Houdini ruins, but the Pink Palace, no. I don't know how that escaped me and my ilk. Sadly, I cannot say I did.
Yeah. Well, I had to ask. It seemed like it was a 90% chance you had. So.
Yes. I try to do it all.
Yes. The other thing that's pretty fascinating is the control over jukeboxes in a city was a real thing.
A real mob thing. Yeah.
My heart breaks anytime I see them throw a jukebox out of a window.
That round, like one that looked like a spaceship. They kept throwing out the windows.
It felt like watching a human get kicked around. I was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Did Los Angeles in the 70s have any places you could go where you could see older artists from earlier eras perform?
Yeah, definitely. The Roosevelt Hotel had a place, the Cinegrill. You could go see Ema Sumac or Eartha Kitt.
Oh my God.
It was a dinner theater sort of thing, right. Cabaret. And was that, a lot of people played. I saw Jerry Lee Lewis play at the Palomino bar, which was a country and western bar. LA is full of places like you could go to. Yeah, you never know where you would find someone. Was
it packed with people? Was it kind of like, because this is kind of the era before now legacy is like, everyone is celebrated continuously. There's a continuum. But back then there was sometimes a little sadness to be like, oh, James Brown is playing at the Chinese restaurant
and
on
there's
82nd.
and there's 15 people there.
Yeah. What was the feeling when you were going to see these?
I mean, it wasn't like old and there was people there, and I think already there was a lot of people interested in legacy, like us, like
Yeah.
me at 20 years old, in my 20s, or before, I wanted to see these people from that bygone era of the 50s, 20 years before.
What was an Ema Sumac concert like?
She band, and she was Ema Sumac. She sang her, she was the queen of the Andes,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, the performance I saw was, pretty much her performance, but I heard she could be very tempestuous on stage and quickly, if people were talking in the audience, she would storm off, which, rightfully so. Who wants to be disrespected like that? But can I say the F word
Absolutely.
on your podcast? Because I was thinking about once, speaking of legacy, because I'm already there. My friend, do you know who Little Annie is? Little Annie band is. She was a singer. She was in the band Crass for a while in the earliest of days. She did some stuff with them, and she doesn't kind of. She moved to London and played with Adrian Sherwood and all the post-punk dub stuff. And she made great records, kind of dance records. And so she like moved back to New York when I was living in New York. And I was playing with her. We became friends. And, she played with tracks, and we did some of the Adrian Sherwood stuff, and I played guitar with her. And but once we were playing at the Mercury Lounge in New York, and it was a seat that had seats this time, and there's people in the front row making out the whole time, like during half the set.
Wow.
When finally she just went right up to them. She went right up to them with her microphone and went like, "Hey, you!" Like she's like. She said, "Do I go around singing in your bedroom while you're fucking?"
And New York rolled its eyes, right?
Yes, exactly. Right, but that's the best comeback I've seen. The best.
Oh, and I'm sure I've seen
a lot.
Plenty. You've been with some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've covered, color, cartoon, music, the times, that was, and the quality of it, and the campiness of it, and the comment on the music industry. It has. It's kind of, you have to see it, and it's fresh when you see it. I've watched it twice. Well, I guess technically last year and this year, and it's just like I could watch it 10, 15, 40, 90 more times,
Yes.
It doesn't get old or I don't know. Even if you could, every line, like it's kind of like it is like a John Waters movie. It's like you could I know every line, and female trouble.
Yes, totally.
But every time I'm like roaring with laughter, and when I hear it again. But yeah, so yeah, it's an aesthetic, that really spoke to a young me and speaks to an old me. And it's a very rock and roll movie. It's the rock and roll movie, really. It really captures a time of when rock and roll was young and fun, and a little bit dangerous at times. Like you said, equally square and equally, dangerous.
Yes.
All the good things. So anyway, no, it's just like a highly recommended classic. A classic.
Yes, and if you watch it at home, you'll have less fear than the theater owners were when they showed things like this and thought their place was going to catch on fire or be destroyed by teenagers ripped out.
Yes, gonna rip out all the seats.
Yes, I love that. I can't take this film. I'm ripping out the seats. Let's burn this down. That is the best emotion a film can do.
Yeah, and that's funny. I hadn't really thought about that when you brought up that really until there is an audience, there was really no teenagers.
Right.
You know, there's the little paper boy that looks like Buddy Hackett.
Yes. Barry Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah, he freaks me out.
I know. It's a little man, a little Buddy Hackett man.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Kid, this has been brilliant. Yeah. Again, thank you for everything you've given me over my lifetime. Just means a lot.
Thank you for a lot of your contributions too.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you might feel differently after I ask you the last question, but I always ask the same question at the end of every episode, but I tailor it depending on what we're talking about. So, on a scale of 1 rock, 2 rocks, 3 rocks, 4 rocks, up to infinity rocks, how many rocks do you give The Girl Can't Help It?
Oh, infinity. 100%, out in the stratosphere. I think it's definitely, yeah, there we go.
That's the right answer. Infinity. Yes. That's what I had right here.
Exactly. So, do I win a prize?
Yes. It's a dinner. I'm going to throw a dinner for 2 at the Pink Palace.
Yes.
With Anton LaVey's ghost. So,
okay, there we go. Okay. That sounds like I won the jackpot.
Oh, thank you so much, Kid.
Thanks a lot. It was great, Chris. And bye.
Thank you for listening to Revolutions Per Movie. We release new episodes every Thursday on your favorite podcast app and additional bonus episodes every Sunday on our Patreon. The show is a completely independent affair, so the best way to support the show is through our Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionspermovie, where you can get weekly bonus episodes and shows, exclusive limited edition flexi discs and records and CDs featuring guests that have appeared on the show, and other exclusive goods sent to you just for joining. You can follow us on social media at Revolutions Per Movie and also find out more information about our various guests in the episode show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye.